Everything you desire already exists. The only question is, do you have the courage to embrace it? This is not a book that promises instant miracles, nor is it a mechanical guide to achieving happiness. Rosanap Oxy's Manifest is a journey of reflection and practice, where you are forced to re-examine the fears, disguises, and even the voids you often avoid. It doesn't just discuss aspirations. It also points to the dark corners of the psyche, where envy, impatience, or despair become the truest mirrors reflecting suppressed dreams. So, if all your desires are already present in this universe, why do you sometimes stand still, powerless, as if imprisoned in an invisible room? Is it not the world hindering you, but your own lack of faith? Or perhaps even the fear that you might become the very person you long to be? Chapter 1: Clarity and Vision. I vividly remember the first moment I sat down and asked myself, what exactly do I want from this life? It seemed like a simple question, but it was like a mirror, exposing all the dark corners, the layers of dust covering my true dreams. We are often swept away by countless noises: our parents' expectations, comparisons from friends, society's vague standards. And in that cacophony, the tiny voice from our own hearts is often drowned out, even disappears. If you've ever felt your life was a stage where you were forced to perform a pre-written script, you'll understand. But it's precisely from the moment you dare to ask what you truly want that the manifestation journey begins. It's not a mystical ritual or a distant miracle, but the courage to face the truth within your heart. When I say you need clarity in your vision, I'm not advising you to write a long list of superficial desires like having a lot of money, buying a house, or becoming famous. Those things might just be the surface, the forms the outside world imposes on you. I want you to dig deeper than that, as if you're unearthing a buried treasure. You must distinguish between what you think you want and what your heart truly yearns for. A woman once said she wanted a high-paying job, but when she sat down, closed her eyes, and visualized what appeared in her mind, it wasn't a luxurious office. Instead, it was a scene of her helping children, seeing their smiles. So, what she truly desired wasn't simply money, but the feeling of giving value, of living in connection. If she didn't realize that, she would spend her whole life chasing the wrong goals and ultimately feel empty. A clear vision is like a roadmap. The more detailed you draw it, the easier it is to find your way. Imagine your dream not just as a vague idea, but as a vivid scene. If you want a house, picture the color of the walls, the morning light streaming in, the feeling of your hand on the doorknob. If you want a happy relationship, visualize every moment you and your partner laugh aloud, the way they look at you with understanding eyes. The clearer the details, the more focused your energy becomes, and the easier the universe responds. I often advise my readers to sit down with pen and paper and write out what they desire specifically. Don't just write, "I want to be happy." Instead, ask, what does happiness look like to me? How will I feel in the morning when I open my eyes? What will I do during my day? Who will I be with? Where will I be? It's this specificity that transforms a mere desire into a true vision. But I know that to gain clarity and vision, you sometimes have to overcome a huge fear, the fear that you won't achieve it. Many prefer not to dream, thinking that if they don't dream, they won't be disappointed. But consider this: you are refusing an entire rich life just to avoid a little pain. A dream isn't a guaranteed promise, but it is a guiding light. And I believe that even if you don't reach it perfectly as imagined, the journey of following that light will transform you into a different person, braver, deeper. I've met many people who live in ambiguity. They say they want success. But when I ask them what success means to them, they can't answer. If you can't define what you want, how can you attract it? Think of the universe as a giant mirror, reflecting the signals you send out. If you send ambiguity, you'll receive chaos. If you send a clear image, you'll receive specific opportunities. Clarity and vision isn't about controlling every detail of the future, it's about being honest with yourself. You don't need to know how everything will come about. You just need to know exactly what you yearn for. And then, you allow yourself to believe that, in some way, the path will open up. We often live by borrowed dreams passed down to us from family, friends, or countless images bombarded on social media. We see others showcasing their travels, cars, shiny apartments, and we believe we must want those things too. But if you stop and listen deeply within, you'll realize that not everything you think is a dream truly belongs to you. Clarity begins with the courage to shut out the noise. I once believed I wanted a grand career, recognized by many. I pursued it, achieved it. But when I stood on stage, lights shining on my face, I felt empty. It was then I understood that what I truly craved wasn't fame, but the feeling of genuine connection with people, of seeing change in their eyes as they rediscovered hope. If I hadn't been honest with myself, I would have kept running in a meaningless circle. When you sit down to write your vision, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Does this come from my heart or from external pressure? 2. When I visualize it, do I feel peaceful or stressed? 3. If no one ever saw me achieve it, would I still want it? These 3 questions are like 3 keys, opening the door to the authentic territory of your soul. And once you step through that door, you will see more clearly than ever before. I know there will be times when you're uncertain. What if I don't know what I want? Trust me. Ambiguity isn't a weakness. It's just a sign that you haven't given yourself enough space to listen. Perhaps you've lived too long in the roles of others: a good child, an exemplary employee, a reliable friend. Now is the time to allow yourself to stand alone and ask, who am I beyond all those labels? One of the most powerful methods I've experienced is writing a letter to my future self. In that letter, I imagined myself living the life I desired, and I wrote down every tiny detail: what kind of house I woke up in, what job I was doing, how I felt walking down the street. No matter how far-fetched it seemed, I just let my pen flow with my heart. Later, when I reread that letter, I was brought to tears by how many things in it had come true in unexpected ways. It's important not to be afraid of dreams that are too big. Remember, clarity doesn't equate to modesty. If your heart calls for something grand, let it be spoken. Someone once told me, "I want to write a book, but I'm afraid that dream is crazy." I replied, "The craziest thing is living an entire life without daring to dream." Clarity in vision also has another power. It helps you say no more easily. When you know exactly what you want, you'll no longer be pulled into superfluous things. You don't need to join every social event or accept every opportunity just for fear of missing out. Instead, you choose what genuinely brings you closer to your vision, and that very selectivity helps your energy become powerfully focused, like a laser beam cutting through darkness. I've seen many people blame themselves for changing their dreams, thinking they lack consistency. But I tell them, changing isn't betraying your vision, it's moving closer to clarity. Sometimes you need to take a few wrong turns before realizing the right path. What's important is that you dare to admit it and adjust your direction. So, when you write down your vision today, don't treat it as a rigid contract. Consider it a living map that can be revised as you grow and understand yourself more deeply. The universe won't punish you for changing. It will smile because you dared to be more honest with yourself. Once you've written down your vision, the next step is to let it come alive in your imagination. Treat your mind as a movie screen where you can project films of the future you yearn for. Don't just stop at static images, let them move, have color, sound, and emotion. I once met a man who said he wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. When I asked him how he envisioned his workday in the future, he just shook his head, unable to answer. That's the problem. You can't expect to attract a reality that is merely a vague shadow in your mind. Imagine yourself sitting in an office, holding a pen, signing a big contract. Feel the confidence spreading throughout your body. Hear the sound of the keyboard as you type, the phone ringing, even the smell of morning coffee. The more specific you are, the deeper your energy is etched into the universe. I know many will scoff and say, "What's the use of imagining? Real life isn't that simple." But science itself has proven that when you imagine an action, your brain activates similar regions as when you actually perform it. This means that by visualizing, you are training for the future in the present. Remember when you were a child, how you could imagine an entire world with just a few toys? You believed absolutely in your play, and in that moment, it became real. As adults, we gradually lose this ability because we're taught that daydreaming is useless. But it's precisely directed daydreaming that is the foundation of manifestation. I often advise readers to dedicate at least 10 minutes a day to this. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes, and project the movie of your future in your mind. Let your heart resonate with every detail. Let joy, peace, or a sense of triumph wash over your body. This isn't pretending, it's how you send a powerful signal to the universe that this is what you choose. But there's a pitfall. You must visualize from the perspective of someone asterisk living in that dream, not as an outside observer. The difference is immense. If you imagine that one day you will asterisk achieve something, you're placing it forever in a distant, out-of-reach future. But if you imagine you are living it right now asterisk, your energy shifts instantly, and reality begins to align accordingly. I tried this myself. When I was still struggling, I began to visualize waking up in the morning, feeling grateful that my work brought meaning. I imagined myself walking into a room, seeing the faces of people I had inspired, and my heart warmed. And then, little by little, my life began to move in that direction. Not because of mystical magic, but because my mind had become a compass, always guiding me toward choices that aligned with my vision. Clarity is also like a lighthouse. It's not the boat that takes you to shore, but it illuminates the path so you don't get lost. You might encounter storms, you might be tossed around, but that light is always there to remind you to return to the right direction. Many people tell me they're afraid to visualize in too much detail, lest they fail to achieve it and suffer. But the truth is, the very act of daring to allow yourself to visualize is the first step toward change. Pain doesn't come from dreaming. It comes from living a life never dared to dream. Try a small exercise tonight before you sleep. Imagine tomorrow you wake up in the best version of your life. What will you do first? Where will you have breakfast? With whom? What will you wear? How will you feel? Let that image carry you into sleep. And when you wake up, remember a small detail from that dream and find a way to bring it into reality. Each small step will transform imagination into the foundation for reality. Clarity and vision also demands patience. You won't discover everything in one day. Sometimes the pieces only appear as you take each step. And that's also the beauty of this journey. You are both the map maker and the explorer. Clarity and vision isn't just about writing a list of desires, it's also the courage to commit to what you've written. If you write that you yearn for a peaceful life, but every day you jump into chaotic relationships, then that vision will only remain on paper. True clarity must become a compass for every small decision in daily life. Many people often ask me, what if I have many different dreams? How do I choose? I say there's no need to eliminate them. Write them all down and then observe which ones resonate most strongly with your heart. Perhaps you want both a creative job and to travel everywhere. That's perfectly fine. Write them all out and let time and experience reveal which are the true seeds. What's important isn't immediate narrowing down, but giving those desires a chance to see the light. Another way to find clarity is to ask yourself, if I weren't afraid of failure, what would I choose? Fear often acts as a veil, preventing us from admitting what we truly want. Some dream of being artists, but, fearing ridicule, tell themselves they prefer office jobs. Some yearn for deep love, but deceive themselves into thinking they only need superficial relationships. Try to remove fear in your imagination and see what you would write. On this journey, another useful tool is a vision board. Take images, words, and symbols that resonate with you and paste them onto a board. Hang it where you can see it every day. Don't treat it as a lucky charm, but as a reminder that this is what you have chosen for yourself. Each time you look, your energy aligns, reminding you to walk in the right direction. Clear vision doesn't mean you have to know all the final details. You don't need to know when, where, or how. You just need to know what you want and how you'll feel when you have it. The rest, you let the universe arrange. You don't need to control, you just need to steer like a sailor. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Clarity is also a declaration to yourself that you are worthy. If you don't believe you're worthy of your dream, you'll write it down as a joke and then live your whole life in doubt. Remember, no dream is too big or too far-fetched if it truly comes from your heart. The very existence of that desire is proof that you have the seed within you to nurture it. Looking back, I see that all the significant turning points in my life began with a moment of clarity. When I dared to say, I want to change, the universe began to open paths. When I dared to write, I want to live a meaningful life, people, opportunities, and experiences started appearing to test that resolve. It wasn't always easy, but I've never once regretted choosing clarity. Therefore, I want you to consider this first step as the foundation. Without clarity, every subsequent step will be precarious. But if you truly take the time to listen, write, visualize, and believe, you will hold a guiding torch in your hand. And from here, each step will no longer be a fumbling in the dark, but a journey toward the light you yourself have chosen. Sit down, write, dream, and believe. That is when you truly begin your manifestation journey. Chapter 2: Releasing Fear and Doubt. I once thought that with a clear enough vision, everything would automatically become easy. But I was wrong, because there's an insidious, persistent force that always stands blocking the doorway of every dream: fear and doubt. Fear is like a shadow. You don't see it clearly when the sun shines bright. But as soon as you start to walk, it appears, clinging to every step. When you dare to dream of something bigger, the voice in your head immediately pipes up. No way, you're not good enough. Others will laugh at you. What if you fail? And so, many give up before they even make it past the starting line. When I first started my journey, I sat staring at a blank page, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. A voice echoed within me: "Who will care about what you write? Who do you think you are?" That voice didn't come from a stranger. It came from within me, from years of accumulated self-doubt, from comparisons, from skeptical glances I had received. It was then I understood that the greatest enemy of manifestation isn't out there. It's right inside our heads. Fear comes in many forms. Sometimes it's the fear of failure, preventing you from trying. Sometimes it's the fear of success, because you worry that if you achieve it, you won't be able to keep it. Sometimes it's the fear of judgment, forcing you to live your entire life in someone else's cage. And sometimes it's simply the fear of change, of leaving a familiar comfort zone, even if that zone is stifling you. Doubt is similar. It creeps in like tiny droplets of water, continuously falling, eroding your will bit by bit. You might start with enthusiasm, but all it takes is a whisper in your head: "Is this really for me?" And the fire in your heart slowly dwindles. I've witnessed many people with beautiful visions who never go far because they are trapped in a net of self-doubt. They wait until they're ready. But the truth is, there will never be a day when you are completely ready. You can't eliminate fear by waiting for it to disappear. You can only overcome it by walking with it, proving it wrong with every step. You stand on the edge of a cliff, looking down at the water, your heart screaming to jump. But your mind lists a series of risks. Is the water cold? What if there are hidden rocks? What if you get hurt? Fear always works like that. It exaggerates every worst-case scenario to keep you still. But if you don't jump, you'll never know what it feels like to swim in that water. I realize that fear doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. On the contrary, when you pretend it doesn't exist, it grows stronger, whispering in the dark. The only way is to confront it directly, to name it. When you can say, "I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of being laughed at, I'm afraid of not being good enough," you've begun to reclaim your power. Because once a fear is named, it's no longer a vague ghost, but an opponent you can look directly at and fight on your manifestation journey. The first thing I want you to do is observe the voice in your head. Pay attention to when you hear, "I can't do this, that's too far-fetched. How could someone like me achieve that?" Instead of letting them control you, write them down on paper, look at them as if you're reading a list. And then ask, is this true, or is it just fear speaking for me? I don't promise you'll eliminate fear overnight, but each time you dare to confront it, dare to question it, you are eroding its power. And one day, you'll realize that voice isn't as loud as it once was. It often disguises itself as protection, whispering to you that it's keeping you safe, away from suffering. But that kind of safety is a cage. It keeps you within familiar four walls, where there's no risk and also no magic. Try to remember the first time you learned to ride a bicycle. You trembled, afraid of falling, afraid of getting hurt. If you listened to that fear, you would never have gotten on the bike. But by overcoming that moment, you learned the feeling of the wind in your hair, the sense of freedom as the wheels rolled on the road. Life is the same. Fear only shows you the dangers, but it doesn't show you the bigger picture: growth, liberation, the true joy of living. What I want you to understand is that fear isn't an enemy to be destroyed, but a signal pointing to where you need to be bravest. Where there is fear, that is often the very doorway to your dreams. If you're afraid to speak in front of a crowd, perhaps deep within you longs to be heard. If you're afraid to start a project, perhaps that's exactly what you were born to do. Fear points the way, but you must be brave enough to step through. I remember a woman who once shared with me that she dreamed of becoming a painter, but never dared to pick up a brush, fearing others' criticism. When I asked, "If no one ever saw your paintings, would you still want to paint?" Her eyes welled up, and she nodded. In that very moment, she realized the dream was real, and the fear was just an illusion. Doubt, on the other hand, is more subtle. It doesn't strike like a storm, it drizzles like a persistent rain, slowly seeping in. It makes you question yourself. Am I smart enough? Am I worthy? Am I deceiving myself? Doubt makes you stop, neither moving forward nor backward, stuck in a spiral of indecision. I often doubted myself before publishing my first book. I almost gave up. I thought, who will read it? Will anyone care? But then I realized doubt will always be there. The point isn't to eliminate it entirely, but to choose not to listen to it. It's like a talkative friend. You don't need to kick them out, you just don't let them drive your car. I want you to try an exercise. Whenever you hear the voice of doubt, change its language. If it says, I can't do this, you add one word, I can't yet do this. If it says, I'm not good enough, you add, I'm getting better every day. Even a small change in wording can shift energy from despair to hope, from being shut down to opening up. Equally important is your environment. If you surround yourself with people who constantly sow doubt in you, it will be hard to escape it. Seek out those who believe in you, who can remind you of your inner strength when you forget it. Trust is contagious, just like fear. So, choose carefully which voices you allow to echo in your life. Someone once asked me, but if I don't doubt, won't I become naive? I smiled and replied, true naivete is living a life where you constantly doubt yourself, never daring to try. Doubt might keep you temporarily safe, but it also robs you of the chance to know how strong you truly are. Remember, all the great people you admire have experienced fear and doubt, but they moved forward despite it. They weren't superheroes. They simply chose to believe in their dreams more than their fears, and that's a choice you can make right now. The more you yearn for something grand, the more fear and doubt cling to you, as if they know that if you truly dare to step forward, your life will change forever, so they exert all their force to keep you still. But try looking at it from a different angle. The appearance of fear might actually be proof that you're heading in the right direction. I once spoke with a man preparing to pivot his career. He had a stable, high-paying job, but felt utterly drained inside. When he told me he wanted to transition into a creative field, his eyes lit up, but then he looked down and whispered, "But I'm so scared." I looked at him and said, if you weren't scared, that asterisk would be worrying, because fear is a sign that you're about to step into territory that truly matters. The problem isn't to eliminate fear, but to change your relationship with it. See it as an annoying but honest travel companion. It comes to challenge you to ask, are you really sure you want this? And each time you answer with action, that fear loses its power. Remember when you learned to swim? At first, just dipping your toes and made your heart pound. But after a few practice sessions, you could float freely on the surface. The fear was still there, but your body learned to move with it. Life is the same. You'll never completely escape fear, but you will learn to live and move forward with it. As for doubt, see it as a fog. When you stand in the mist, you can't see the path, you might think there's no way forward. But if you patiently take small steps, the fog will gradually dissipate, and the path will appear. Doubt doesn't mean you're wrong, it just means you're walking in unfamiliar territory. I often remind readers to start with small victories. Don't try to challenge your biggest fear immediately. If you're afraid to speak in front of a crowd, start by speaking up in your close friends group. If you're afraid to write a page in your personal diary. Each small victory will accumulate into confidence, and gradually you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Try another exercise. Draw 2 columns on a piece of paper. In the left column, list all your fears and doubts. In the right column, write down actual evidence that refutes them. For example, if on the left you write, I'm not smart enough, then on the right, write down instances where you've successfully learned, skills you've developed. When your eyes see the evidence, the balance of power in your mind begins to shift. Sometimes you'll still wake up with anxiety, but that's not the end. The difference lies in what you choose to do next. You can let fear pull you back into bed, or you can step outside, even with trembling legs. And it's those trembling steps that are the true testament to courage. Someone once asked me, how do I know if I've truly overcome my fear? I said, when you act even though you're still afraid. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. And each time you do that, you engrave a new message into your mind. I am stronger than my fear. Fear and doubt will never completely disappear, but we can learn how to prevent them from steering our lives. See them as noisy passengers on a bus. They might scream, they might whisper, but the steering wheel is still in your hands. The first time I dared to stand in a room full of people and share my story, a multitude of voices crowded in my head beforehand. They'll think you're foolish. You'll forget your lines. Who cares about your story? My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would leap out of my chest. But when I opened my mouth, my voice trembled, yet I continued. Each word flowed out, listening eyes appeared, and when I finished, the whole room applauded. I realized that the fear hadn't vanished, but it hadn't killed me either. It was just a test to see if I truly wanted to step into the light. Remember, the universe always challenges you with fear and doubt to make you prove if you're worthy of your dream. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it wants you to become strong enough to hold on to what you yearn for. A clear vision not bolstered by courage is merely an illusion. To truly eliminate the influence of fear, you need to practice continuously every day. Take a few minutes to observe your mind. Ask, is this true, or is it just fear speaking? If it's true, act to change it. If it's just fear, smile and move on. As you repeat this habit, your brain will learn to distinguish and will no longer be bound as before. Doubt is the same. See it as a reminder that you're entering new territory. Instead of letting it pull you down, turn it into motivation. Each time you think, am I sure I can do this? Answer, let's just try and see. Because the truth is, you never know how far you can go until you start. I want you to do one more exercise. Write a list of your worst fears. Write them all down without holding back. Then write, if this happens, what will I do? In this way, you are reclaiming control. You transform fear from a vague monster into a manageable scenario. And when you see that you can still stand firm, fear loses its power. Someone might ask, what if I fail? I'll ask back, what if you never try? Failure isn't an end, it's just a stepping stone. Doubt wants you to believe that failure is proof you're not good enough. But the truth is, failure is only proof that you dared to be braver than millions of others. In the end, you have to choose whether to believe in your dream or believe in your fear. Both require faith. But one leads you to expansion, while the other locks you in a familiar circle. The choice is yours and yours alone. So start today. Whenever fear and doubt whisper, nod and say, thanks for the reminder, but I will continue, one small step, one action at a time. You will find yourself stronger than you ever imagined. And one day, you'll realize you're no longer living in the shadow of fear, but walking in the light of faith. Chapter 3. Aligning your actions. Do your daily actions reflect the person you want to become? You might have written down a clear vision. You might have courageously confronted and dismantled your fears. But if your actions don't align with your dream, manifestation will remain just an unfulfilled promise. I once dreamed of a healthy, energetic life. But every night I stayed up late for no reason. Every morning I woke up tired, and every meal was filled with things that made my body sluggish. I said I wanted to change, but my actions whispered the opposite. It was a shock to realize that vision and action must go hand in hand. Otherwise, they cancel each other out. You want a healthy relationship where you are loved and respected. But if you continue to accept people who only bring you pain, if you remain silent in the face of behavior that hurts you, then you are sending a clear signal to the universe. I'm willing to settle for less. The universe doesn't hear what you say, it looks at what you do. Many people often ask me why they haven't manifested what they want, and when I listen, I realize the problem isn't with their vision, but with the contradiction between their words and actions. They want money but spend excessively. They want love but refuse to love themselves. They want freedom but cling to old, restrictive habits. The truth is, your behavior is the vote you cast every day for the person you want to become. The more you repeat an action, the more you engrave a belief, and that belief then becomes reality. You can't dream of change while clinging tightly to old behaviors. If you say you want to be a writer, you can't wait for inspiration to strike before you write. You need to sit down every day, even if just for 10 minutes. If you say you want a healthy body, you can't wait until you have free time to take care of yourself. You need to choose behaviors that reflect respect for this body right now. When I started to change, I didn't do grand things. I simply chose small but consistent actions. I woke up a little earlier. I learned to say no to relationships that drained my energy. I wrote down my weekly plans. Each small act was like a pebble, but when laid together, they built the road that led me to where I wanted to be. I want you to understand that your behavior is the most powerful declaration of your belief. You can say you believe in your dream, but if your actions betray that dream, then that belief isn't deep enough. Remember, the universe isn't convinced by promises, but by consistency. Adjusting behavior doesn't mean you have to become a perfect person instantly. It's a process of learning to make choices that align more with your vision each day. Sometimes you'll regress, you'll make mistakes, but what's important is that you recognize it and return to your path. Each morning, ask yourself, what small action can I take today to bring me closer to my vision? Maybe it's writing a page in a diary, exercising for 10 minutes, or calling someone who brings positive energy. You don't need to change the whole world in one day, but you do need to prove with your actions that you are serious about your dream. I often liken daily behaviors to small bricks. Each brick you lay down is a step in building the house of your future. But the crucial question is, which house are you building? If you dream of a home full of light, but every day you lay down bricks of old habits, then ultimately, you'll find yourself standing in a dark room that you yourself created. You cannot desire a new life with an old mindset and old actions. If you want love, you must first love yourself to attract relationships that reflect that self-respect. If you want a creative career, you must start living like a creative person, even if no one knows you yet. I once met a young woman who yearned to be an actress. She told me it was the biggest dream of her life. But when I asked, "What do you do every day to get closer to that dream?" she remained silent. All she did was follow the lives of celebrities, but she had never taken acting classes or even tried a small audition. I told her, dreams don't fall from the sky. They need your hands to nurture them with action. Your behavior is also the message you send to the universe. If you want wealth but manage your finances carelessly, you're sending the signal, I don't appreciate abundance. If you want health but constantly neglect your body, you're sending the signal, I don't truly value this. The universe listens not through prayers, but through the habits you maintain every day. How many times have you said, I want to change, yet your behavior remains the same? You say you want peace, but every day you immerse yourself in negative news, in judgmental conversations. You say you want to move forward, but you let procrastination steal precious time. This contradiction is precisely why many people never successfully manifest. I remember when I began to reorganize my life, my first step wasn't to do anything grand, but to eliminate small things that no longer served me. I stopped spending time with people who only pulled me down. I limited my consumption of content that made me doubt myself. I chose to put myself in environments that made me feel supported. And from there, new behaviors emerged. Small habits were built. Behavioral change doesn't come from a single big push, but from persistence. You don't need to do everything right now. You just need to start with one specific thing, stick with it, then add another. That's how a new life is created. You are standing on a long road leading to your dream. Each correct action is like a brick laid down on that road. The more consistent you are, the clearer and easier the road becomes. And at some point, you'll realize you're no longer fumbling in a dense forest, but walking on a bright path that you yourself have created. Here's an exercise I often suggest. Write down 3 daily behaviors that reflect the vision you desire. Just 3, no need for more. For example, if you want health, you might choose to drink enough water, exercise for 15 minutes, and get enough sleep. If you want creativity, you might choose to write a page, read for 10 minutes, and record a new idea. These 3 small behaviors, if consistently repeated, will create bigger changes than you imagine. You cannot control the entire future, but you can control today's behavior, and today is the only soil where you can plant the seeds for tomorrow. Behavior isn't just about what you do, it's also about what you accept. If you say you want respect but tolerate being disrespected, you are betraying your own vision. If you say you want peace but allow yourself to be drawn into arguments, you are closing the door to your dream. Your actions and choices are the standards you set for your life, and the world will treat you based on those very standards. If you don't raise your standards, you will forever repeat the same old patterns. I had to learn this the hard way for a time. I always said I wanted a healthy relationship, but I consistently allowed myself to engage in hurtful ones. I rationalized, perhaps I don't deserve better. And so, the universe only brought me what reflected that belief and behavior. It was only when I truly said no to what went against my vision that a new door opened. I know this is not easy. Sometimes aligning behavior with vision means letting go of familiar habits, long-standing relationships, or seemingly attractive opportunities that aren't truly suitable. And that letting go is painful, because it forces you out of your comfort zone. But remember, the comfort zone is also where dreams go to die. Every small behavior creates a message. When you choose to eat a healthy meal, you're telling yourself, I value this body. When you choose to dedicate time to learning a new skill, you're saying, I believe in my potential. And when you choose to let go of something that no longer serves you, you're saying, I deserve more than this. These messages, repeated over and over, become reality. Think of an athlete. They don't just dream of victory. They train every day, eat disciplined meals, rest properly. Their behavior is perfectly aligned with the vision, I am a champion. So, victory isn't a miracle, it's an inevitable outcome. You are the same. If you want a new reality, live as if you are already in that reality. An exercise I love is embodiment. Imagine you have already achieved your vision. You are the best version of yourself, now. Ask, how would that person act? What would they choose to eat, to say? How would they react to difficulties? Then start integrating those actions into your life today. In this way, you are drawing the future closer, step by step. You might think, but I'm just pretending. No, that's not pretending, that's practice. Just like an actor rehearses before going on stage, you are practicing to become the person you desire. One day, you'll realize you're no longer pretending. You have truly become that version. Change doesn't come from grand decisions, but from small yet consistent choices. Each time you choose a behavior that aligns with your vision, you are creating a piece of a puzzle, and each of those pieces will come together to form the picture of the life you've always longed for. The final thing I want you to understand about aligning behavior is that this is not a quick fix, but a long-term commitment. You don't need to change everything at once. What's crucial is consistency, repeating small actions in the right direction until they become second nature. A river flows over rock, tiny, seemingly insignificant drops of water, but over time, they carve out grand canyons. Behavior is the same. You don't see the immediate impact, but if you are faithful to it, you will look back in amazement at how far you've come. Remember what you once did unconsciously. Bad habits didn't form in a day, they were the result of repetition. Now you can entirely build new habits, new behaviors, using that very same principle. The difference is, this time you are actively choosing. When behavior aligns with vision, you begin to feel immense inner strength. You no longer have to convince yourself to believe in the dream because you are living it every day. Every healthy meal, every decision to decline what no longer serves you, every hour you dedicate to growth, all are proof that you are on the right path. I know there will be days when you stumble, when you act contrary to your vision and feel disappointed in yourself. But don't turn one mistake into a life sentence. What's important isn't that you're perfect, but how quickly you get back on track. Remember, a train might deviate for a few minutes but still reach its destination if it corrects its wheels in time. I want you to try a simple practice. Every night before bed, ask yourself, what did I do today that aligned with my vision? No need to write extensively, just 1 or 2 actions. When you acknowledge them, you reinforce the belief that you are progressing. And if you didn't take any aligned action that day, ask, what one action can I choose tomorrow to course correct? This self-reflection will keep you on the right path. When you consistently live as if you have already become the person you dream of, a marvelous thing will happen. You begin to attract opportunities, people, and situations that reflect that change, not because the universe suddenly rewards you, but because you have changed your energetic frequency, and reality has no choice but to respond. Consistent behavior is the silent yet most powerful declaration. It tells the world, I have chosen, and I am living in alignment with that choice. At that point, you no longer have to vaguely hope. You are, day by day, turning your dreams into reality. Trust me, one day you will wake up and realize you no longer have to force manifestation, because all your actions have become the embodiment of your dream. And that is when manifestation ceases to be a method and becomes your way of life. Chapter 4, Overcoming the Universe's Tests. I want to tell you a truth that not everyone is ready to accept. When you begin to walk the path of manifestation, the universe won't spread roses before you. On the contrary, it often sends challenges as if to ask, are you truly ready? Are you truly serious about what you desire? These challenges come in many forms. Sometimes they appear as tempting opportunities that don't align with your vision. Sometimes they are familiar temptations that pull you back to your old self. and sometimes they are obstacles that make you doubt whether you're on the right track. I remember when I first started changing my life, I was determined to live more authentically and healthily. And right after that, I was offered a job high-paying, stable, but completely contrary to the vision I had written down. I was torn. One part of me screamed, "Take it, it's a golden opportunity." But another part whispered, "If you take it, you'll betray your own dream." That was the universe's test. Many people would be mistaken and think that if there's a challenge, they must be on the wrong path. But the truth is the opposite. These challenges are signals that you are moving in the right direction, and the universe wants to know if you are steadfast. It's like a treasure vault guarded by riddles. If you solve them, only then are you worthy to pass through. A friend once told me he wanted a healthy relationship. He had done very well, learning to love himself and gradually moving away from toxic relationships. And then, just when he thought he was ready, his ex-girlfriend unexpectedly returned, promising to change, sweeter than ever. His heart fluttered. But deep down, he knew it was a test. The universe wanted to know if he was truly ready to let go of the past and open his heart to something new. Overcoming these challenges is never easy because they often strike at your weakest points. They whisper in your ear the things you once craved, the things you were familiar with. But it's precisely then that you need to remember the vision you've written down, remember why you started. If you are steadfast, you will overcome. And once you do, you step onto a completely new level. See challenges as stern coaches. They don't appear to make you quit, but to forge you into a stronger person. They ask, "Do you truly want this? Are you willing to pay the price with patience and discipline?" And the only answer lies not in words, but in the actions you choose. The universe doesn't send you tests to punish. It does so to ensure that you are strong enough to hold onto what you desire. Imagine if you manifested a great love, but you hadn't yet learned to love yourself. That love would easily crumble. Challenges come to train you, to make you prove that you are ready to receive something better. Tests often disorient you because they don't come labeled as challenge here. They disguise themselves as attractive opportunities, sweet invitations, or even overwhelming difficulties. I remember one time, after months of persistent writing, I received an offer to collaborate with a large company. But the condition was that I had to change my writing style, make the content more commercial, losing the authenticity I had chosen. On the surface, it was a fantastic opportunity, lots of money, lots of fame. But deep down, I knew if I agreed, I would betray my own path. I refused. And miraculously, a few months later, another door opened, this time aligned with my values and vision. If I had fallen at the first test, I would never have seen that second opportunity. Most tests present you with a choice: return to the old path or continue on the new one. For example, you want peace, and just as you start meditating, an old acquaintance appears, pulling you back into a dramatic spiral. Or you want financial freedom, and just as you learn to manage your money, an unexpected expense makes you want to give up. These aren't coincidences. The universe is asking, are you truly serious? Many people fail at this step because they think challenges are a signal to stop. They say, things are getting difficult. This must not be the path for me. But I want you to change your perspective. It's precisely asterisk because it's difficult that it proves you're heading in the right direction. Because if you choose the easy path, nothing changes, nothing new happens. The resistance you encounter is proof that you are breaking old limits. Remember, tests are never bigger than your capabilities. They are just big enough to make you summon all your courage, to teach you to believe in yourself. Sometimes, with just one more step of patience, you'll realize that the challenge was just a disguised door, and behind it is the reward you've been waiting for. Whenever you face a difficult situation, ask, if this is a test from the universe, what does it want to teach me? Perhaps it's to learn to say no, to be patient, or to trust. When you view challenges from this perspective, you'll feel less disoriented because you understand they come to teach, not to destroy. You're climbing a mountain, you've overcome easy sections, you're used to ascending slopes. But as you get closer to the summit, the path becomes steeper, the wind stronger, the rock sharper. Many stop here, thinking the mountain is too dangerous, that they aren't strong enough. But it's precisely asterisk because you're near the summit that the challenges become more severe. Life operates the same way. The universe's tests often appear when you're very close to a breakthrough. I've met many people who stopped at precisely this moment. They had been persistent, had changed, had come far. But when the test arrived, they panicked and returned to the old path. They didn't know that with just a little more persistence, just one more proof of their faith, the already open door would swing wide before their eyes. A man once told me he wanted to build an independent business career. He worked tirelessly, overcame doubts, changed his lifestyle. And then, just as he was about to sign his first big contract, a series of difficulties struck. Partners hesitated, family pressured him, finances tightened. He almost gave up, thinking it was a sign to stop. But in the end, he chose to believe in his vision and pressed on. Just a few weeks later, the contract was signed and his career took off. He told me, if I had given up at that test, I probably would never have known how far I could go. Tests often exploit your weakest points. If you once had a habit of self-deprecation, the universe will present a situation where you must learn to stand up and assert your worth. If you were once obsessed with scarcity, the universe will test you with a difficult financial period to see if you have enough faith in abundance. Each challenge is a mirror, reflecting what you need to heal. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this happening to teach me? This question transforms the challenge from an enemy into a teacher. And once you learn the lesson, the test will disappear on its own. Passing the test doesn't mean you have to be strong and fearless. Sometimes, passing simply means not giving up, choosing to continue even when anxious. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. And each time you do that, you send a clear message to the universe. I am ready. Chapter 5. Practicing Unconditional Gratitude. There is an invisible yet no less miraculous power I want you to experience. Gratitude isn't the hollow kind you often hear in well wishes. It's a vibrant gratitude that permeates every cell, truly making your heart resonate. Many people think they will be grateful when they achieve what they want. When I have my dream job, I'll feel grateful. When I find true love, I'll be happy. But the truth is the opposite. You must start being grateful now for what you already have, to pave the way for new things to come. Gratitude isn't the ultimate reward. It is the very door leading to abundance. I vividly remember a period in my life when I was immersed in discontent. Everywhere I looked, I saw lack. Not enough money, not enough love, not enough opportunities. Every morning I woke up, my mind immediately listed what wasn't perfect, and the more I focused on the lack, the more I felt lacking. I was like a bottomless cup, never full. It was only when I started practicing gratitude that my life changed. At first, I didn't believe it. I thought, what is there to be grateful for when everything is going wrong? But I tried. I wrote down 3 small things I could be grateful for each day. Initially, they were things so simple they seemed trivial. A hot cup of tea, the morning light streaming through the window, a text message from a dear friend. Gradually, I realized I started seeing the world differently. I saw things I had previously overlooked. The smile of a stranger, the peace of taking a deep breath, the warmth of a blanket at night. Gratitude is like a new pair of glasses that completely changes how you view life. It doesn't make difficulties disappear, but it makes you realize that amidst imperfections, countless wonders are still present. And when you focus on those things, you create a new flow of energy, a flow of abundance instead of scarcity. The problem is that most of us attach gratitude to conditions. I'll be grateful when things get better. But if you're only grateful when everything is smooth sailing, your gratitude is fragile, easily broken, and never enough. The true power lies in being grateful even during difficult times, because it's precisely those times that refine you, teach you, and make you grow. I once knew a woman who went through a painful divorce. Initially, she only saw loss and bitterness. But then, as she began to write a gratitude journal, she realized that the divorce also brought her a freedom she had never known, an opportunity to rediscover herself. She wrote, "I am grateful that the marriage ended so I could start anew." As her heart opened with gratitude, new things began to come to her. New friends, new experiences, a sense of peace she had never had before. Gratitude isn't about closing your eyes and denying difficulties. It's about looking directly at reality, both its beauty and its hardships, and still choosing to find value within it. It is a choice, and it is a power. I know you might be thinking, easier said than done, how can I be grateful when I'm suffering? I understand that feeling because I've been there too. When you're struggling with debt, loneliness, or loss, the advice to be grateful can sound like a mockery. But it's precisely at such times that gratitude is most crucial. It's like a small lamp in a dark room. It doesn't instantly dispel the darkness, but it helps you see a way forward. Try to start very small. You don't need to find grand things to be grateful for. Just a breath, just a heartbeat still ticking, just the fact that you have another day to live and try again. Sometimes, just that is enough to make you feel that you've been given a gift. One of the habits that changed my life was keeping a gratitude journal. Every morning, before touching my phone, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Some days, they're childishly simple: my soft pillow, the scent of fresh coffee, a song I heard yesterday. But it's these small things that nurture a warm feeling within me. And when you start your day with gratitude, you carry that energy throughout. When you are grateful for what you have, you open up space to receive more. Like someone who cherishes every small coin in their hand, they gradually receive more because they've proven they know how to value it. The universe operates on the same principle. If you keep focusing on scarcity, you only create more scarcity. If you focus on abundance, you attract more abundance. I've seen this happen many times, not just in my own life, but also with those around me. A friend of mine was unemployed for months, living in anxiety, but instead of letting despair consume him, he started practicing gratitude. Grateful for a roof over his head, grateful for his supportive family, grateful for still having the health to search. After just a few weeks, he found a new job that was not only better, but also aligned with his passion. He believed that his attitude of gratitude had changed his energetic frequency, and I believe so too. Gratitude doesn't mean you deny the desire for change. You can still yearn for something new while being grateful for the present. These two are not contradictory. In fact, this combination creates a special power, both appreciating what you have and expanding your heart to receive something greater. You might not realize it yet, but gratitude also has a healing power. When you focus on the good, your mind becomes less obsessed with suffering. You don't deny the pain, but you don't let it consume the entire picture, and gradually, balance returns. It's like adding bright colors to a dark painting. The whole picture changes completely. One common mistake is that we attach gratitude to conditions. When I get promoted, I'll be grateful. When I buy my dream house, I'll be happy. When I find love, I'll appreciate it. But that conditional gratitude is like a dangling key, never quite in your hand. You keep chasing the future and forget the present. The true power of gratitude lies in the fact that it doesn't need to wait. It blossoms right in this moment, regardless of circumstances. And that's what transforms it into a magical tool. Because when you are grateful now you emit a clear signal that you are living in abundance, and the universe, like a mirror, simply reflects that signal back. Have you ever met someone who always complains? They might have a job, family, friends, but they always find reasons to be dissatisfied. And as a result, everything in their lives seems to get worse. In contrast, those who are always grateful, even when life isn't perfect, often attract more joy, opportunities, and affection. That's not a coincidence. It's the consequence of the energy they emit. I once went through a major challenge. A project I had poured much hope into failed completely. I fell into crisis, feeling as if all my efforts had gone down the drain. I just wanted to give up. But instead of letting myself be consumed, I tried a different approach. I sat down and wrote, "I am grateful for this failure because it taught me patience. I am grateful because it helped me see who truly supported me. I am grateful because it forced me to be more creative." And strangely, as I shifted my perspective, my energy shifted too. From seeing loss, I began to see opportunity. From being fixated on the end, I started thinking about a new beginning. Gratitude also has a subtle function. It helps you pause. In our hurried pace of life, we often rush forward, always wanting more faster. Gratitude reminds you to stop and breathe, to realize that you already have so much. It gives you an anchor so you're not swept away in endless scarcity. Every night before you sleep, close your eyes and recall 3 things from your day that you're grateful for. They can be small: a friendly glance, a delicious meal, a moment of quiet. Don't just think, truly feel it, let your heart warm, let a gentle smile emerge, and then sleep in that state. You will be surprised to see how your life changes in just a few weeks. You don't need to turn gratitude into a dry obligation. Turn it into joy. See each day as an opportunity to hunt for small treasures, and you'll find those treasures everywhere, just waiting for you to notice them. Gratitude, when not tied to any conditions, becomes the key that unlocks an entirely new way of living. It makes you stop chasing someday and start enjoying today. And that's what turns you into a magnet, attracting even more good things. You are walking on a long road. If you only look at the distant destination, you'll grow tired, frustrated, and easily give up. But if you are grateful for each step, for every sight along the way, for every cool breeze that passes, then the entire journey becomes a joy. And when the journey itself is a joy, the destination is merely an added reward. Many people ask me, how can I be grateful for painful things? My answer is, there's no need to force yourself to pretend. You don't have to say, I'm happy because I'm suffering. But you can choose to find meaning in that pain. For example, be grateful because it made you stronger, grateful because it taught you to understand others better, grateful because it showed you what truly matters. In that way, you transform pain into a teacher instead of an enemy. I once met a young man who suddenly lost his job and fell into despair. But instead of sinking into gloom, he began to write a gratitude journal, grateful for the time to rest, grateful for the opportunity to reevaluate his direction, grateful for still having the health to start over. A few months later, he found a new job, one he loved even more than his previous one. He told me, if I hadn't transformed that loss into gratitude, I'd probably still be stuck in the same place. When you practice unconditional gratitude, you also send a clear message to the universe: I am abundant. And when you live in that feeling of abundance, you no longer cling, no longer despair. You begin to relax, and it's in that relaxation that the things you desire will come naturally and effortlessly. Try letting gratitude become your breath. In the morning, be grateful for a new day. At noon, be grateful for the energy that nourishes you. In the evening, be grateful for being whole after a day. It doesn't have to be complicated, just let it gradually permeate the way you see the world. Then one day, you'll realize you no longer have to strain to find something to be grateful for. You'll see that everything around you is a reason for gratitude: a rain shower, a sunbeam, a fleeting conversation. At that moment, you'll understand that gratitude isn't a technique, but a state of being. And when you live in that state, you'll realize manifestation is no longer a strenuous effort to pull something toward you. It becomes a natural flow because you are already in the energy of abundance. Chapter 6: Transforming Envy into Inspiration. Let's be honest with each other. Have you ever felt envy? Perhaps you scroll through social media and see someone getting a promotion, traveling, or having the relationship you've always longed for. A sharp pang in your chest, as if someone has just touched a secret wound. And immediately your mind begins to whisper, why do they have it and I don't? For years, I considered envy a shameful thing, an emotion I had to bury. I was afraid others would know I was envious because that would mean weakness, inferiority. But then I realized that envy is actually a mirror reflecting the things I yearn for but haven't dared to admit. It's not an enemy, but a valuable signal. Try looking at envy in a different way. If you see someone achieve something and you feel envious, it means a part of you also desires that very thing. And more importantly, the fact that you see them having it means that it is entirely possible. Their presence in your life is like living proof that that dream can become a reality. I remember when I first started my writing career, I often envied successful authors. I watched them launch books, have adoring readers, and a strong voice on major forums. And instead of focusing on my own path, I tormented myself. I'll never be like them. That envy paralyzed me, led to procrastination, and shrunk my own dreams. Until one day I asked a different question: what if I use this energy for inspiration instead? I started viewing their success as a roadmap rather than a condemnation. I asked, what did they do to achieve that? What can I learn from them? And strangely, envy transformed into motivation. I wrote more, dared to share more, and little by little I built my own journey. Envy only becomes dangerous when you let it turn into bitterness, when you let your mind believe that someone else having something means you never will. But if you flip that thought, you'll see a different truth. If they have it, you can too. The universe doesn't pick a select few and forget the rest. Opportunity is always there, and envy is a compass guiding you to your true desires. Remember, envy isn't for you to deny. Don't try to pretend you're never envious. Be courageous and look directly at it. Acknowledge, this feeling is telling me that I also yearn for that. Then, instead of letting it burn you, let it illuminate the path you need to take. Here's something interesting I've realized. Envy is often tied to the areas most important to us. You won't envy everything. You might not care if someone has excellent musical instrument skills if that's not your interest. But your heart might ache when you see someone with a career, love life, or lifestyle that you secretly desire. That means envy is showing you what your true aspirations are. Envy is like a treasure map. Each time this feeling arises, it marks a spot on the map where something you yearn for exists. Instead of feeling ashamed or avoiding it, take note. You can ask yourself, what is it about them that I envy? Is it their work, the confidence they exude, or the freedom they possess? That very question will help you identify your deepest desires. I once did a small exercise. Every time I felt envious, I would write down, I envy. And then transform it into, that shows me I also want. For example, I envy my friend because she dared to start a business, became, that shows me I also want the freedom to build my own career. Just by changing the wording, the energy completely shifted. From heaviness, it transformed into enlightenment. Envy can also become fuel for action. When you see someone who has achieved what you want, instead of complaining, you can take it as proof that the path is possible. If they did it, you can too. Turn envy into a question. What can I learn from them? What can I apply to my own life? I once fiercely envied a colleague who consistently advanced in her career. But instead of letting that feeling gnaw at me, I started observing how she worked. Her discipline, how she built relationships, her confidence when presenting. I learned, tried to apply it to my own work, and soon after, I also achieved progress that I had only dared to envy from afar before. Remember, the energy of envy is inherently potent. If you let it drift into bitterness, it becomes poison. But if you redirect it, it becomes fuel like fire. It can burn and destroy, but it can also warm and cook. It all depends on how you use it. And the most beautiful thing is that when you learn to transform envy into inspiration, you also learn to expand your heart. Instead of seeing others' success as a threat, you begin to view it as proof that this world is vast enough for everyone. That shift not only frees you from comparison, but also makes you feel lighter and more confident on your own path. Many people feel envious because they believe life is a small pie. If someone takes a large slice, there will be less left for them. But the truth is, the universe doesn't operate on scarcity in that way. Someone else's success doesn't diminish your share at all. On the contrary, it proves that the pie can expand infinitely. Remember the feeling when you were a child and saw a friend successfully ride a bicycle? Did you feel envious? Perhaps. But at the same time, you also felt a new belief. If they can do it, I can do it too. Envy, when correctly understood, is a reminder that possibility exists. I once envied people with confident stage presence. Every time I saw them speak, I would shrink back, telling myself I'd never be able to do that. But then I realized that very feeling of envy was my inner self whispering, you want to be up there too. You want to shine too. So, instead of resisting, I started practicing from small talks to larger workshops, and then one day, I too could stand on stage, no longer trembling, but truly present. If it hadn't been for that initial feeling of envy, perhaps I would never have dared to take the first step. See envy as a compass. It points towards what's important to you, what you yearn for but might be burying. Instead of denying it, listen to it. Write down situations that make you envious and analyze, what about them bothers me? What is it there that I actually want? Just by answering honestly, you'll realize that envy isn't darkness, but a light shining on unexplored territories within you. A magical shift occurs when you start transforming envy into inspiration. You'll find joy in others' success. You no longer feel like they're taking something away from you. On the contrary, you'll feel a spreading energy, as if their success is proof that you, too, are on a viable path. This not only frees you from bitterness, but also makes your journey lighter and more motivated. Here's an exercise I recommend you try. The next time envy arises, instead of scolding yourself, write an imaginary letter to that person. In the letter, you don't need to flatter them, but be honest. I envy you because you have that, which shows me I also want it, and thanks to you, I believe it's possible. It's just a small exercise, but it will transform heavy energy into a bright source of motivation. Envy doesn't say you're bad, it just says you have many aspirations that haven't been fully lived. Instead of seeing it as a blemish, view it as a signal. Here is something you need to explore. I once met a young woman who shared that she was very envious when all her friends her age were getting married, while she was still single. Every time she saw wedding photos on social media, her heart would ache. Initially, she blamed herself for being inadequate and gradually became bitter. But as we talked, she realized that envy didn't mean she was useless. It simply showed her that she truly yearned for a deep, lasting love. And upon acknowledging that, she began to change her lifestyle, open her heart more, and adjust her behavior to welcome the relationship she desired. Within just a year, she met her life partner. She recounted, "If I had continued to bury my envy, I probably wouldn't have dared to be honest with my heart." That is the power of transforming envy. When you dare to look directly at it, you turn a heavy emotion into motivation. You are no longer pulled down by it, but use it to rise. Remember, envy doesn't always need to disappear. You don't need to cure it completely. What you need is to learn to converse with it, just as you would talk to a blunt but sometimes rude friend. It will tell you hard truths, but if you listen with openness, you will find clarity. A small practice to start. The next time envy appears, place your hand on your heart and ask, "What is this feeling trying to get me to pay attention to? What desire is it showing me that I'm neglecting?" Then write it down without judgment. Just doing that transforms envy from a destroyer into a guide. And once you've mastered this approach, you'll see a big change. You'll no longer be afraid when others succeed. Instead, you'll feel inspired, reminded that this world has room for everyone. You'll be happy for them, and at the same time, happy for yourself, because you'll know that if it can happen for them, it can happen for you too. That's when you understand that envy is actually not an enemy, but a secret ally on your manifestation journey. It just needs you to change your perspective, and once you know how to turn it into inspiration, you will walk more lightly, more confidently, and more steadfastly on your path. Chapter 7, Trusting the Universe. After all the steps you've taken clarity and vision, releasing fear, aligning behavior, overcoming challenges, practicing gratitude, and transforming envy into inspiration, you now stand at a crucial threshold, learning to trust the universe. I know this might sound vague, even difficult, because we humans always want control. We want to know when our desires will arrive, how they will come, and what they will look like. But manifestation doesn't operate on such tight control. It requires trust. It's like planting a seed in the ground. You can't dig it up every day to check on it. You can only care for it, water it, and then patiently wait for it to sprout. I used to be terribly impatient. Every time I wrote down my vision, I grew anxious. Why haven't things changed yet? Why hasn't the dream arrived? I began to doubt. Perhaps manifestation doesn't work. Perhaps I'm not worthy. And that very doubt blocked the flow of energy. I was like someone planting seeds, but constantly trampling the soil, not giving the seeds a chance to grow. The breakthrough came when I learned to let go. I remember writing in my journal, "I trust that everything I desire will come to me at the right time, in the best way for me, even if I can't see it right now." As I wrote that sentence, I felt a profound sense of relief. I was no longer obsessed with the when. And in just a few months, new opportunities began to appear as naturally as flowing water. Trusting the universe doesn't mean you sit idly by, waiting for a miracle. It means you still act, but you don't act from fear or scarcity. You act with the belief that every step, however small, is bringing you closer to your dream, and you let the universe take care of the details you cannot control. You can't force the sun to rise faster, but you can wake up early to greet its light. You can't control the rain, but you can sow seeds and prepare the soil. Faith in the universe is the same. It frees you from the burden of needing to know how everything will happen. It allows you to live fully in the present, while still being certain that the future is unfolding in the best possible way. I want you to ask yourself, do I truly believe I am worthy of what I desire? Do I believe the universe is generous enough to grant it to me? If the answer is still hesitant, remember that faith is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Start with small things. Trust that the sun will rise tomorrow. Trust that you will take your next breath. Trust that something good awaits you today. And from there, you will gradually build greater faith. There's a truth I learned after many struggles. Impatience is the enemy of manifestation. When you constantly ask, "When will it come?" you're sending a signal of scarcity. You're affirming to the universe, "I don't have it yet, and I doubt if I ever will." And so, you only attract more impatience and insecurity. Remember the image of the farmer sowing seeds. You don't stand guard over the field, shouting, "Sprout, sprout." You know that seeds need time. You trust in nature's process. The soil will embrace the seed, the rain will nourish it, the sun will warm it. And then, at the right moment, a green sprout will emerge. Manifestation operates in precisely the same way. I once tormented myself due to a lack of trust. One time, I wrote down a big goal, and after just a few weeks with no signs, I despaired. I thought, perhaps I was wrong, perhaps I'll never get this. I almost gave up. But a few months later, what I desired appeared in an unexpected way, even better than I had imagined at the time. I realized the problem wasn't with the universe, but with my impatience. Trust means you allow things to unfold at their own pace. What you desire might arrive slower than you expect, but when it does, it will fit perfectly. Sometimes you even receive more than you ever asked for. How many times have you wished for something, only to be disappointed when it didn't happen? Then, looking back later, you felt grateful it didn't unfold as you thought. The universe has a broader perspective, and sometimes delay is protection. True faith is believing that even when you don't understand, everything is still being arranged for your highest good. Here's an exercise I often do. Whenever I feel anxious, I whisper, I relax and trust that the universe is working with me. That phrase is like an anchor, keeping me from being swept away by doubt. You can try it too, to remind yourself that you don't need to control everything. Trusting doesn't mean being passive. You still act, but you act with serenity. You don't need to race against time, nor rush to prove anything. You walk with a steady rhythm and let the universe arrange what's beyond your control. Trusting the universe doesn't mean everything will always be easy. In fact, true faith is sometimes only proven in the most difficult moments. When everything is going smoothly, you don't need much faith. But when plans fall apart, when doors close, when you see no way out, that's when you have to choose, doubt or trust. I recall a period in my life when I lost both my job and a relationship almost simultaneously. I felt empty, as if everything was against me. In those days, if someone told me to trust the universe, I would have scoffed. But when the despair subsided, I began to think, what if everything that happened wasn't to destroy me, but to clear the way for something better? I had no proof, just a choice. Either I give up or I trust. And I chose to trust. Looking back, I see it was one of the biggest turning points, because it was during that period that I learned to live in uncertainty while maintaining inner peace. Then, from the wreckage, new opportunities gradually emerged, a job that helped me grow more, a deeper relationship. If I hadn't trusted and let go, I wouldn't have been patient enough for those things to arrive. You see, trusting doesn't mean you pretend everything is fine. Trusting means you dare to admit that you don't know, yet you keep moving forward. You step into the darkness without needing a distant spotlight, just trusting that each step will be illuminated as you take it. Try to live with the attitude, I don't need to know exactly when, but I know for sure that what I desire will come. See it like how you trust spring will return after winter, even if you're currently shivering in the cold. That faith doesn't erase the cold, but it gives you the strength to continue. I often remind myself, the universe is never against me. Even delays and detours are just part of the journey for me to learn and grow. Each time I think that, I feel lighter, and I'm no longer in a rush. A strange thing happens when you truly trust. You start to see small guiding signs, perhaps a serendipitous conversation, an opportunity appearing at just the right moment, or even just an intuition prompting you to try a new direction. These things are like small stones scattered along the path, reminding you that you are not lost. But to recognize these signs, you need to learn to listen. If your mind is constantly filled with doubt, you will overlook them. When you trust, however, you open your heart and become more sensitive to subtle signals. You'll start to say, this is a reminder that I'm on the right track. Trust also means accepting that you cannot control everything. Many people get stuck here because they want to cling to every detail. They plan meticulously, and when things don't go exactly according to that roadmap, they think they've failed. But the universe might have a different plan, a grander, better one, and sometimes you just need to step aside and let it work. I've witnessed this many times in my life. There were things I thought I absolutely needed, but when they didn't happen, I later realized how lucky I was. Because if they had come true, I would have been kept in a smaller version of myself. Thanks to delays, thanks to unexpected turns, I had the opportunity to step into experiences far beyond my imagination. That's why I always say, trust that if what you desire hasn't arrived yet, either it's being prepared or something even better is waiting. A simple exercise you can try every day. Close your eyes and tell yourself, I release the need to know every detail. I trust that the universe is guiding me. Feel the lightness when you no longer have to carry the burden of controlling everything. That very release will free your energy to receive more. And then, once you've completed this journey, you'll understand that manifestation isn't just about achieving a goal. It's how you learn to live with faith, gratitude, and openness. Trusting the universe isn't the final step, but the foundation for you to continue creating your life, time and again. You are never alone. Every desire you plant with love and faith is heard by the universe. And if you are patient, if you walk with faith, one day you will see that everything you ever dreamed of has found its way to you, at the right time, in the right way.